spoken. Velvet voice. Ooh, yeah. Slide on in. You're now tuned in to the Black Deth 101 podcast, where the streets talk and the reels roll.
All right, now, right on, you jive-ass turkeys. This is the Black Deth podcast with your hosts, Nubious Black and Johnny Deth.
Hey, everybody.
We were here to dissect Blaxploitation and talk about the genre of pictures that saved Hollywood from the past, the present, and somewhere in between.
I'm Johnny Deth, and together with Nubious Black, we are going to dig deep into the Black exploitation phase of the 70s. And let me just set the stage. It's the early 70s. Black power is in the air, and Shaft ain't just another character. He's the revolution in bell bottoms. While the man is tripping over red tape, Shaft's out there solving cases, breaking beds, and flipping the white savior narrative on its colonizer head. You want justice? You better call Shaft.
And when you call Shaft, we're going to warn you right now that this podcast uses racially charged language in the context of the subject matter. So if you're easily offended, slide out, you jive-ass turkeys.
Bunch of sissies.
So Shaft, like you said in the intro, is a cultural statement, if not an icon of status of film and of everything else that came after it. When did you first see this movie, John?
Well, my dad took me to see it. I was little, but he took me to see everything. So violence and nudity were never a problem for my parents. And I saw this probably a week or two after it opened. My dad must have heard something about it from one of his buddies. And we went in, and I was just expecting another detective movie, like the detective shows I see on TV, or like the old Bogart films that my dad used to watch with me. And John Shaft was not your average detective. He was the baddest guy ever to rock a leather trench coat in 42nd Street's grimy glow.
This character literally didn't break the mode. He created the mode of things to come. Because I remember when I seen it, believe it or not, it's like down here in South Jersey where I was from, we went into the drive-in theater. You know, being that Jersey used to be known as the drive-in state, you know, not just the Garden State, now it's the warehouse state. And now add to that the state of confusion. But my dad took us to the drive-in, and it wasn't a lot of times that my dad had time to do things like that. But we went because, hey, this was something special. He's taking us out. And minds were blown. I mean, blown, because we never seen anything like that. We never seen a person that looked like us in a positive light. And not just in a positive light, but portrayed realistically so we could understand it. He just wasn't a racially switched character that could have been a white guy playing Shaft. You know what I'm saying? You could not have a white guy playing Shaft. It's no different than I hear even today that people go, well, why couldn't Blade be white? Because he wouldn't be Blade. Simple as that. I mean, it's simple as that. It's just that character, again, created by white writers. But without Shaft, you wouldn't have Blade. Without Blade, you wouldn't have the MCU. You see what I'm saying? It's a domino effect. Shaft touched everything. Fashion, music, culture, just the way people felt about themselves. And it isn't like they went out there and said, all right, black, good. White, bad. No, it was like, black, let us handle this shit. And the white cops that were trying to get involved, we'll let you know when we find something. That wasn't like, they never really put down the white guy. They jobbed around and bullshitted with him, and he bullshitted back with them. It just was today it would be easy to just go white bad, black good, black bad, white good. And it's not the case. It's just not the case. And it was played like not every black character in this movie was a positive role model, because that's the real world, you know?
Exactly. And not every bad guy was a white guy.
Right.
I mean, you had his cop buddies. They probably knew each other from when John Shaft was on the PD. But let's talk just a little bit about the plot for some of our listeners that you may not be aware, because John Shaft is really the baddest brother ever. That opening, him walking down 42nd Street, is iconic, especially with that music. He's a private eye. He's got the razor sharp mind, an even sharper wardrobe, enough cool on that man to freeze fire. And Harlem's got problems. You got mob wars, missing daughters, and
Yeah, yeah.
crooked
The
cops.
mobs are involved. They're blaming a lot of the troubles on the Black Panthers and these other black militia groups that are out there at the time. And that's basically the red herring or the black herring, if you will, that they put that there. And basically, then the mob is wondering what's going on with our money. And then there's Bumpy, who's looking for his daughter, who's kidnapped. And that was the crux of the whole show. Bumpy, even though he was a rough, tough character and played by Moses Gunn. God damn, that should be a real name for like a character in Shaft, Moses Gunn. But he played him with such
Absolutely.
gravitas where he wasn't just this mean mugging guy that when he told his bodyguard to just wait in the hallway, you seen a totally different side of him where he kind of softened up and was kind of basically on the side trying to beg Shaft to find his daughter with tears in his eyes. That was his weakness. Was his daughter.
Absolutely.
And any other movie, you wouldn't have got that little thing. And even today, sadly, today's movie-going audience is so spoon-fed everything that shit like that will totally go over their head. They would miss it. And that's very important. He wasn't a villain for villain's sake, so to speak. He had humanity. That's the key word. He had humanity.
That entire scene where Bumpy asks Shaft to find his kidnapped daughter. Shaft gets to his office, which is still waiting for a window to be replaced. Bumpy and his man have already broken in, sitting in Shaft's chair.
Yeah, he didn't appreciate that part. And that was just what we would call that today a dick measuring contest. I'm gonna sit
Absolutely.
there and see what Shaft's gonna do about it. And Shaft did something about it. Because like you said, previously, two of Bumpy's men came and followed him into his office, and one slipped and fell out the window, kind of, sort of. Shaft kind of escorted them out of the window. And I
Yeah,
like the
Shaft,
fact the walls and the doors and the windows had big 2x4 planks. Not plywood,
bro,
2x4 planks.
the tension in that scene is so thick, but Shaft still, again, ice cold. It's
Yeah,
like
he
a
stayed cold.
chess game of power between these two men.
Because Shaft didn't let up. He kept that persona on there because he knows if I show any weakness, this guy's going to take advantage of me. And then who blinked? Bumpy blinked. Because
First he blinks,
if it
and
was
then he
about
gets the tears.
if it was about drugs or property or prostitution or something, whatever Bumpy was into, I think Shaft would have had to fucking run for his money. But it wasn't about that. It was about Bumpy's daughter. And a lot of people, if you
Exactly.
ask them on the street, they know the Shaft song, they know who Rich Rancher is, but they don't know the story. That's where it stops with today's movie audience, but we grew up in this shit. And I remember seeing it in the drive-in with remember those things? Did you have drive-ins out where you were at? Do you
Yeah,
remember
because most of the time we grew up in California, so we had drive-ins, especially in the desert.
did you have mosquitoes in the desert?
Yes, we did.
So did you
We
get
had
those mosquito
mosquitoes.
things that were green and they spiraled when they burned that was supposed to take the mosquito? I remember
They didn't work.
movie.
They didn't work.
This movie brought back all those memories of flat soda, stale popcorn, those mosquito things, and the little bumpers in between the films when they're setting up the reels. And I mean, if I won the lottery, I would literally try to buy some land and start another drive-through. I love the drive-through.
So do I. In fact, during COVID, the only time we could really get out to go to the movies was going to the drive-in.
Yeah, people were making their own ad hoc type of drive-ins, But
They were. But we should get back to Shaft. And the other thing that I thought this film captured better than any other movie up to that point is the mean streets of New York City and being a New Yorker. I mean, Shaft, he can walk into an Italian mafia mob den and then a Harlem hideout and then go get his shoes shined. He makes his own rules. He's not a sidekick.
right, and he gave little fucks of what anybody thought about it, And even
Exactly.
and some clarity and when he's about to do some shit.
And we really have to talk about the director, Gordon Parks. He was a musician, he was a photographer. Excuse me. He wasn't just the director of Shaft, he was really a visionary who helped to, what am I looking for? Redefine how Black life was seen in the American media. Before Hollywood gave him a call, he was already a legend. He was the first Black staff photographer at Life magazine. He was known for capturing the dignity and struggle of everyday Americans, Black Americans, with striking humanity. And with Shaft, he became the first director of a major studio film, MGM.
Yeah, his the black and white photos that he took of like people down south and people like in the inner city and stuff like that. It's just incredible. You know, I mean, there was no words on any of these photographs. The photos spoke for themselves, and it was powerful shit.
They did. And a lot of people think, well, Shaft, they must have shot a lot of it guerrilla style. And I think they did. But every scene in that is exactly what Parks wanted. His eye behind the camera is what's shaped by a lifetime of breaking barriers. And in Shaft, he told a story the way only Gordon Parks could, with elegance, grit, and dare I say, revolutionary cool.
And amazingly, also, when you see that he was a photographer, a writer, a composer, filmmaker, all self-taught.
Now, we're definitely going to have to talk about the music in this, but I just want to mention before we get into Isaac, the man, that, you know, for the second film, and I didn't realize this until I just was rewatching it, Shaft's big score, Gordon Parks did the music for the second Shaft movie. I was surprised. I didn't realize that.
I mean, they could have easily just relied on the original Shaft theme, but he kept things fresh. We don't get too much of fresh anymore. We will beat a dead horse today and wring every drop of fucking talent and creativity out of it. But yes, when it comes to music, geez Louise, that theme song, damn. What can you say more about that theme song? That theme song was insane.
Isaac Hayes, the bald brother with the gold chains and the deepest voice in funk.
What do they call him?
Shaft theme?
Black Moses.
Black Moses, because everyone followed.
Yep.
Oh, man. And that theme, it redefined cinema. Before this, movie scores were strings and pianos. And after this, wah-wah guitars, hi-hats. And bass lines so low, they might have rearranged your spine.
And then now he was recognized. The movie was recognized not just for what was on the celluloid, but in front and on the screen, but the music as well. Won all kind of awards and shit. So from a little town in Covington, Tennessee, he really made a big fucking step and a big mark and everything. Because even Isaac Hayes, he had his own style, his own look. I think he was one of the few brothers that seemed to be bald for the first time and was bald on purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like, I shaved my head on purpose. I'm not losing my hair. I just don't like combing it. So I just shave it all off. And he shaved his head and he wore all kind of eclectic outfits from tuxedos to shit looked like he was an X-Man and shit. With all this fucking flair.
He was a superhero in my eyes. That song is Shaft. It sets the tone, sells the attitude. It announced to the world, this ain't your daddy's detective movie. It opened the door for Blaxploitation films to come and set the tone and musical style for a decade.
If not longer. But, you know, I agree with you 100%. Every movie in this genre after Shaft had to have basic
funk and soul became the heartbeat of the genre.
Right. You had to have those basic elements. Badass hero that took no shit, that was black. Theme song. You had to have a theme song, no matter what. The theme song had to be able to tell the story, just like Shaft. Shaft's theme song told the story before you seen the movie. If you listen to the lyrics.
In fact, I was pouring a cup of coffee the other day, and all I could hear in my head was, "Coffee is the color."
Right. Great song.
Theme from Coffee. Yes.
Roy Ayers. And women in these movies, in my opinion, were no more exploited than any other woman in any other movies. But these women turned out to be like, they fought. They fought back all the time.
Yeah. And they strutted.
Yeah. They weren't, it wasn't like, what I'm doing, I'm ashamed of doing what I'm doing, whatever the character is doing. The character is doing what they do to survive. And then if they get like physically assaulted or something like that, slapped around, they're fighting back. I mean, they may not win that fight, but they're fighting back, and then they'll go back and get somebody like John Shaft to come in and finish that shit.
Hell yes, hell yes. And before we wrap up the music, we have to mention that Isaac Hayes won an Oscar, making history as the first black man to win for a score.
Isn't that wild?
It
That's
is.
when you think about it. For today's world, today people don't even pay attention to that shit no more. But he was the first, and that was in what 1971, some shit like that.
71. It was right in there. I remember watching the Oscars. What else was up that year? Was it Michael Jackson singing Ben, maybe?
Maybe. I mean, that's the same time period, and that's hey, and just throwing that song into that movie kind of puts that in Blaxploitation adjacent. There's a
Absolutely.
lot of movies in the 70s when they finally realized, holy shit, black people spend money on movies and they make movies on the cheap. It's a win-win.
Anytime, every time Hollywood doesn't know what to do, they remember the black folk.
And to this very day. But now today, sadly, we got people who will go online and they will put out fake reviews with bots and all this stuff. I mean, why? If you don't
I
like
don't
something,
get it.
if you don't like something, don't watch it. That's how I look at it. You know, I watch a lot of shit that I go, my God, this is just ridiculous. But guess what? They had the heart to at least try to do it, so I can't bash them for it. I really can't. They got
Exactly.
my money, so it worked on that level. Do I have to see it again? No. If I don't like it, no. But today, everybody's like that one hip hop song. Everybody's a critic. It's getting kind of hectic. It's just a night and day. I mean, for all the strides that were made since Shaft came out, I personally think we moonwalked back a lot of shit where people now don't even think it. That's why I wanted to do this podcast. I wanted people to realize this was not a throwaway fucking genre. It actually bloomed into what you're watching right now.
Absolutely. There would be no Sinners. There would be no Black Panther without this. There would be no Green Card
There would be a
without
lot
this
of fucking
showing
TV
Hollywood.
shows that's out there. Think about
Yeah.
that. Even the TV shows with the white hero, there was always a little bit of Shaft, like they were in that world of Shaft, like Starsky and Hutch. That was like, damn, are they in the world of Shaft? And even some of the Dirty Harry movies, I guess Clint Eastwood doesn't even admit that he made those because he's such an auteur now. You know, dude, that's an exploitation film where you were making.
Hell yeah. And you know what? Clint Eastwood and Dirty Harry and Magnum Force, like in Magnum Force, he's shooting a guy down while he's eating a hot dog. And I immediately thought he has the same diet as Shaft.
Right. Hot dogs and coffee.
Exactly. And I challenge anyone out there who hasn't seen the movie to just watch the first 10 minutes and you'll see what we mean. Shaft doesn't just walk, he struts through those mean streets of New York City.
Walking in traffic.
Like he owns the pavement, the camera follows him with loving reverence. And Isaac Hayes' theme turns every step into a threat. Snow on the sidewalk, smoke in the air, and all eyes on the man. Hell, the message is loud. This is Shaft City now.
Yep. The cops, you can tell the cops knew who he was. So they all like kind of moved away. And a lot of the pushers and the pimps, they all seen him coming. They would cross the street. So that one scene, like you said, actually built up his character. You knew what type of character you were dealing with within the 5 minutes of the entrance. I always wish I had a theme song when I walked into a room like that. Who wouldn't?
I'll have to write us a theme song at some point. But really, that walk, he's got that sex machine persona. The walk, the talk, the sheets don't stay cool when he's around. Shaft's rep as a private dick who's a sex machine to all the chicks is played with with swagger. The women dig him. The men want to be him, and the camera lingers on him like it's just as thirsty as the audience.
And speaking of the women, the female star Gwen Mitchell, she was born right here in New Jersey in Morristown. I don't think she did a lot of films after Shaft, just little bit roles. But she's still alive. She's 82 years old, so good for her. She's outliving almost everybody in that fucking movie.
God bless her.
So that was impressive, you know. And that set up the whole strong black woman type of character that we would get with Coffee and all the characters that she played, you know.
Yeah, that came after.
That Pam Grier.
So,
oh
man. So what do you think? really made this film so revolutionary? Was it the music? Was it the time it came out? Was it the fact that we had a black lead with agency that was in command?
I believe
What do you
everything you
think?
said is viable because this, like you said, the time it came out, it was right after the Vietnam War. Well, everybody was still feeling the tension of that. Plus, the civil rights movement was in full swing. Everybody still was feeling the
Yeah.
tensions of that. You had Nixon as president. Everybody was feeling the tensions of that, and then there were the world was in, at least America was in an economic uproar. And then it was like in real life, black people were trying to find their way, and then they made this movie to show that, we know what you're feeling. We just going to give you a couple hours of, you know, to a fantasy spinoff so you can let that out in a positive way by watching Chef because he's living that same life and he's not being told what to do. He's not, like you said, he had agency. He was the head guy.
He
Or
was
as
the
my dad would
boss.
say, the HNIC, the head nigga in charge. That was Chef. He didn't answer to nobody.
Yeah.
That's why.
And you know what? It also, often something you had just mentioned before, I forget. Harlem was soul, the neighborhoods. Didn't just, it showed the people. That one scene in the building when they get chased and they go into the lady's apartment.
Right. And it's like
Yeah, this,
from the outside, it looked like a battle scene in Beirut. Then when they broke into her
yeah.
apartment, it was pristine, wallpapered, nicely furnished. Everything had its place, and it just totally took you off your guards. And then the woman there was just kind and sweet. And the guy Chef was chasing his former best friend was gonna stab him with them scissors. And what did she say to him?
Don't do that.
Yep. And she didn't raise her voice. She said, "Don't do that."
No, quiet dignity.
And he respected her. Put the scissors down, and then Shaft gave her a roll of bills for breaking the damn door in, and they went about their business. But that's how it was done, and how it was in the inner city like that. And it's
Gritty
funny.
but proud.
It was funny that it was when I seen that scene. It also brought me back to Live and Let Die because it looked like the same area where everything was burnt up and demolished. And then they were like, "He's coming to get you." Well, what does he look like? Well, he's the only hunky walking around Harlem. That's what he looked like. So
Oh, yeah.
that I think Live and Let Die is Blaxploitation, dude. At least not adjacent.
It is definitely adjacent. It has many elements. But back to Shaft, it really showed
It had
the
chef
African
elements
American neighborhoods
blended in with
as
James
rich.
Bond.
Yes.
Who would have thought you could
Yes.
make a movie out of that? That just sounds crazy, but it worked.
It worked perfectly, but you had Yaphet Kotto,
Yeah,
secret weapon.
exactly. And that dude, oh my God, what was his name? With the guy with the hook. He's in
The
everything.
Uncola nut guy.
Oh yeah, you had him too. You had him as Baron Zamzis.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're gonna get to him in a future episode too, that character, because Blaxploitation not just took action, it took horror movies, it took comedies, it took dramas, anything that is made as a theater, musicals. Blaxploitation was there, and they didn't just.
I tell you, folks, we have Blackula coming up soon.
Yeah,
and
that's
Scream
gonna be good.
Blackula Scream. It's going to be good.
So
JD's Revenge.
we're gonna go from Isaac Hayes' voice to Blackula's voice. Come on, man.
Oh,
William Marshall. William Marshall had one of the baddest voices. I remember when I was a kid and I seen Blackula like on the Late Late Show or some shit like that when we only had 3 channels. And on one of those channels one afternoon, we're watching Star Trek, me and my old man. And who's that? I'm like, this guy looks familiar. And he's talking. I was like, oh my God, his voice sounds familiar. And for years, I did not put together that character was played by William Marshall. And he was the guy, Daystrom, which is a major fucking thing in
yeah.
Star Trek, where Daystrom created the Daystrom computer, and the computer was like their version of like, he was like Steve Jobs before Steve Jobs was Steve Jobs. And that all of Daystrom technology was what fast forward into like the recently past. If it wasn't for Daystrom, you wouldn't have data. You wouldn't have, I mean, I like that shit. It's very interesting. I forget what the name, his last name was Daystrom though, because that was the institute.
Right. It was the ultimate computer or the supercomputer
Yeah,
episode.
and he hooked it up to his own brain, and he went insane because he was trying to get the brain algorithm out of his head. into this computer. Again, wouldn't have that without Shaft.
Back in the early 80s, and this is before he was on Pee-wee's Playhouse as the king of cartoons, I used to go to this little, what looked like a little dive coffee shop way down on Hollywood Boulevard, and it was a Thai restaurant. And we used to go there, and we'd go there like after the club. So we'd get there at like 2:30, and who would be at a table, like one or two tables over, every time was William Marshall.
Really?
I literally brought a Blackula poster and had him sign. And he was gracious, and that voice was amazing.
We watched Blackula a couple months back, and I was like, man, if he was still alive, could you imagine him playing a character in Black Panther? Like one of his ancestors or some shit?
He could have been his father. It
Right.
would have been perfect. Yeah.
Oh, we also, on Chef, we got to talk about our main man, Antonio Fargas.
Huggy.
Yeah, he was Binky in this one, but
Yes.
Binky, Huggy, same character in every fucking role pretty much.
The only role where he's a little different, but he can't be too different because he's Anthony Fargas, was in a film called Putney Swope, directed by Robert Downey Sr., which is about a Madison Avenue advertising agency. And the CEO dies in the middle of the board meeting, so they hold a new vote. And the only black guy on the board is the music director, Putney Swope. And when they hold the new election, everybody votes for Putney because they think no one else will. And he changes the name of the company to Truth and Soul Incorporated.
And this movie's called
And
what
it's
again?
Putney Swope, directed
I'm
by
about to look
Robert
into it.
Downey Sr. Oh, it's a bizarre movie. It's great. I used to drop acid and watch that movie. It was hilarious. 25 years clean and sober, fans.
Hey, sorry to hear that. But
Anyway,
he was in what? Foxy Brown, Starsky and Hutch, we said earlier. I'm Gonna Get You Sucker.
everything.
Patrick Jones. He was in a lot of stuff, man. And I think his son was in the NFL. So yeah, he left a mark, man. And he's still alive. I think he's only like 78 years old.
Damn, he must have looked like 40 when he was 20.
When he was what, 12?
Yeah, damn.
But dude, again, Chef did everything. Music, fashion. When Chef came out, everybody needed to dress like a character in Chef because that was it. That was the it look.
It was cool.
The whole swagger you were talking about, everybody wanted that swagger. It was a cultural institution that spread through every genre of movie, every last one of them. And
Yeah.
again, especially...
And we should take a moment. Go ahead, but then we should take a moment to talk about the sequels and the TV show.
I really didn't know much about the TV show, but I remember Chef from Africa. I remember that one.
Yep.
That was what?
Directed by John Gillerman. That was the third one.
Yeah, and John Gillerman directed
King Kong.
King Kong.
The De Laurentiis Kong. I'm in
Yes.
that movie.
My favorite movie. I love that King Kong movie.
I believe that the Kong in that movie has become the basis for almost every Kong since.
Yeah. And that was, my God, my brain just went flat. What was his name? Rick Baker.
Rick Baker. Yeah, the king of the gorilla suit.
Yep. He made that suit. And because Carlo Rambaldi, famous Italian special effects guy who did the alien head from Aliens, he was going to do a mechanical Kong that was like 50 feet tall, and it didn't work.
It was 40 feet tall. It was stunning to look at because it was huge and it moved so slowly you couldn't tell it was moving. So I got to see it in action a couple of times and it just didn't really work. Looked good. It's in the movie for about 2 seconds.
Like a blink of an eye, yeah.
Yeah, just kind of dropping the pieces of that cage it was in. That's it. 1 or 2 shots. And I'm running in front of it screaming.
I do not remember the TV show.
The TV show I would have forgotten about, but when I was in London back in late 70s, early 80s, one night I couldn't sleep, and there were only like 2 or 3 stations there, similar to what we used to have, but even worse. And I suddenly found one that said, tonight's movie is Shaft. And I'm like, oh yeah, finally. And what comes on? An episode of and I don't remember it to this day, but I remember watching it, and it was just good to see Richard Roundtree as Shaft.
And speaking of seeing Richard Roundtree on TV, I remember some early aughts. I'm watching Spike TV. That's what it was called. It was USA with Spike TV. TV
right. TV for men.
And they spent all this money on a Blade TV show. And I was so excited. And then I realized while watching it, I was like, okay, they couldn't afford Wesley. So they hired Kirk Sticky Fingers. And I'm like, I'm gonna watch this because if nobody watches it, they're gonna take it off the air. So at least I want to at least see what could have been. And the best parts of that show, because sadly, and I'm not pointing fingers, technically I am. This show was called Blade the series, but didn't mention shit about Blade. It was always about the young white chick who was looking for her brother who was fucking around with some vampires and shit. And Blade used the white chick as like a spy that went inside of the vampire nation. But long story, the only parts of the show that I dug was the flashbacks because it showed Blade as a young boy trying to
Wow.
deal with his problem. And then it would always show, but not the head. It would just show this male figure going, Eric, that's Blade's name. I'm gonna get out. Don't worry, I'm gonna take care of you. And Eric's dad would go to the hospital and get free blood bags to take home to feed his son because his son couldn't digest food. His dad would always handcuff the young boy to a table or some shit like that. It was a really well done series on that part. And then they finally zoomed up, and it's Richard Roundtree playing Blade's dad.
Wow.
And and he ended up falling in love with the nurse who was stealing the blood, and the nurse slash Blade's stepmother would always care for Blade, but Blade's animal lust would always take over him because he's going now. Not only is he a vampire, he's going through puberty and he's breaking free and he's attacking bums in the neighborhood. Richard Roundtree keeps trying to cover it up. He wore a black jacket, trench coat, very shaft white, but then you go, that's where Blade got the idea to wear the trench coat to honor his father. And the car that he drove, that Dodge Charger, was his dad's car. So everything you see about Blade, they did some pretty good world building where Richard Roundtree is very important in Blade's life because look, his car, Blade fell in with a gang and they did tattoos, and that's where he got the tattoos from. And it was Bokeem Woodbine is in this, who trained him how to be a street thug. This Asian, you always have to have the Asian mystic dude that lived on your street, taught him how to stay out of trouble and control his hunger and taught him sword fighting techniques. That stuff was what made it interesting. No one, I mean, as great as that, good looking as that woman was in this Blade movie, it was like, why are they making her the star of this fucking movie when it's called Blade the series? It was Blade the series. Blade guest starred in almost every episode, and it was starring the white girl and the white villain, Ethan Van Sciver, who was the vampire guy. And you see it and you go, this is when people tell you, oh, we're just trying to make it better. Did these people not go back and see Blade 3 when they tried to push Blade to the background of that movie and push Jessica Biel and Ryan Reynolds? It didn't work.
Yeah, not a big fan of Blade 3.
And when this is not like a one and done type of deal. Hollywood and TV do the same stupid shit. Instead of working what works, do you remember Mantis?
Yes.
Do you remember the first televised TV movie?
Yeah, and then I think they changed it when it became a series.
The only thing they kept was the name Mantis and Carl Lumbly in the Mantis suit. Everything in the first movie was about the LA riots, was about the inequality of black people disproportionated policed by police. It was about Miles Hawkins, the hero, being shot in the back by a cop during the riots and him suing and losing. Miles Hawkins had 2 African students that were his Robins that helped him build his suit, and he lived in a fucking cave with an underground cave inside of a mansion. All this cool Africa diaspora type of stuff with African elements in it, which made it really cool. And then you go, who wrote it? Sam Raimi and Sam Hamm, the same 2. Sam Hamm wrote Batman, 89.
Yes, he did.
So they sold it to Fox. Fox loved it, and they loved it so much they got rid of everything Sam Raimi put in this movie besides the character. But that's just Hollywood, man. They keep some things
typical.
You tinker with them, and you just. I can't remember the Greek story about the man who kept rebuilding the boat with new pieces.
Yes.
So when is it a new boat and when is it not the old?
Yes.
That's why I was kind of good with the Shaft remake, the first one with Samuel Jackson, because they had such great actors in it. Vanessa Williams did her part. Sam was Sam.
Sam was playing himself.
It's my duty to tame that booty. That type of shit. Then you had Peoples, played by Jeffrey Wright, who was
great.
Commissioner Gordon, and he's the Watcher, and he's British. I never knew that motherfucker was British. But
I didn't know till you told me.
Yep, and he plays that Puerto Rican dude, Peoples, the criminal. And that movie was good. Then top it off, you had Christian Bale playing the most diabolical racist motherfucker in the history of movies. That showed how great his acting is. To the point where I was like, I'm starting to think he believes this. But
he was very easy to hate.
Exactly. All that being said, that just shows how much range this character of Chef stretched throughout all Hollywood, TV, music, as well as fashion. If Chef was cooking a sandwich in this movie, because all he ate was hot dogs, but if they had like a prolonged scene of him in the kitchen, Chef would have affected the way people ate. I honestly believe that.
I agree 100%.
So, that's our overview on Shaft and 71. Again, without it, we wouldn't have a lot of things we got today. You got anything to close on?
John Shaft was the cat that started it all. I think we've said it. I think we've really said it all.
Yeah, we said it all. But, if you like this type of content, hit us up, like and subscribe, tell your friends. Don't be jive-ass turkeys. We'll have to come find you and pimp slap some motherfuckers. That's all. Shaft would have did that and kicked in the door and slept with your woman. and
Shaft did kick in the doors and come through the windows.
And threw people out of the window. Yeah, I don't think Johnny's throwing anybody out of the window. At least I hope not anyhow. But in closing, I think you guys, people who listen to this, will really enjoy what we're going to be bringing to you next. What's the next movie we're going to do, Blackula?
Well, yeah, I think maybe we do Blackula next. And then after that, maybe Sweetback.
Oh my God. The acid trip known as Sweetback's badass song. That sounds good.
Sweetback's badass song. And that actually came out just a few months before Shaft.
Really?
And and the making of that movie is pretty interesting.
Yeah. So we're gonna
that one's coming up.
So we're glad you came here to hang out with us and let us.
We look forward to having you back.
Yo, yeah, come on.
If there's any movies that you want us to cover, let us know.
Yeah,
we'll get to them.
We'll hit them too. We'll do it on, as we said, the same black time, same black channel.
We will be back.
Peace.
Now dig this tale about a man so bold, ball dome gleaming with them chains of gold. He spoke in bassline smooth and deep, funk so rich it made the silver screen weep. Before him it was violins in the night, but he dropped a groove that hit just right. Wah-wah cries and a hi-hat kiss, that Shaft theme, man, it funked up the biz. He's the brother with the sound that slapped, rewrote the rules, had the cinema zap, turned a cop flick into a revolution, gave the world a sunky black solution. Shaft ain't just a name, it's a vibe, and Isaac wrote that rhythm worldwide. No more tuxedos and symphonies. He brought street heat and soul remedies, laid down a score so quite so fine. Bass so low, it rearranged his spine. It wasn't just music, it was a flag for heroes with swagger, for stories with brag. He kicked open doors with his Oscar in hand. First Black King to score in command. Funk became the post, soul the attitude. Character strutted like the beat was rude. He didn't just compose, he declared war on bland soundtracks and closed doors. So give it up for the preacher of groove, the cinematic soul that made the world move. Isaac Hayes with that gold chain shine, still echoing deep in that bassline divine. Yeah, this ain't your daddy's detective scene. This is funk, power, and black excellence on screen.